Leaders, let me ask you a question. What do you do when life hits you with something that you didn't even see coming? Not a setback you can plan for. I'm talking about a moment that changes everything. Today's guest on the Champion Forum knows that story firsthand. After stepping on an IED while serving our country as a Marine, he couldn't let that moment define him. Instead, he decided to define what came next in his life. That next chapter, it led him to becoming a world-class endurance athlete, an Ironman, and an international keynote speaker, and living, no doubt about it, an example of a life of resilience, of faith, and of purpose. You know, this episode, it's not going to be just about a story about recovery. It's a story about leadership under pressure, grit in the face of real pain, and the kind of mental toughness that every great leader can learn from.
This is the Champion Forum podcast with Jeff Hancher, the forum for leaders, champions, and dreamers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. Today on the show I have Eric McElvenney. He's a retired Marine infantry officer. He's an Ironman athlete. He's an Olympian. He's an international speaker. And during his final deployment to Afghanistan, unfortunately Eric stepped on an IED, losing his right leg below his knee. And instead of just retreating from life, Eric set up some audacious goals to cross the finish line of a full Ironman triathlon. He completed his first Ironman in 2013 and went on to represent Team USA in the 2020 Paralympics, and has since finished multiple Ironman races all around the world. Today, he travels all over the world speaking about resilience, perseverance, and the power of purpose, helping other people overcome adversity and chase down their own finish lines. Eric, truly appreciate your service to our country. Thank you for your service after service. Your story, it certainly embodies courage, but more importantly, it embodies leadership. It's an honor to have you on the show and appreciate you being with us.
It's great to be with you, Jeff. Thank you for that wonderful introduction.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's going to be a good time.
Absolutely. I've had a chance to watch some of your messaging. You and I were introduced by a mutual connection. We're both keynote speakers, and we've had a chance to kind of like sub in for one another and watch each other's journey. So, man, you're doing it on some big stages. So I'm trying to learn from you as it relates to that. But your message, man, it is very inspiring, and it's certainly impacting and helping people think a little bit differently. And obviously, we're not going to go into full keynote mode here today, but thank you for agreeing to come on and share a little bit about the journey that hopefully can challenge some of our listeners as well.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure.
So I'd like to start by learning a little bit about the background. You know, did you always want to be in the military? You know, when you were a little kid, did you decide early in life, like, hey, I'm going to be a Marine? Like, what led you to enlist as a Marine, and what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, no, it did start from being young and just being outside and kind of like playing war with my buddies. But it solidified in the 8th grade, where we had to do a career research report, and we couldn't do it on being a professional athlete. That was the rule. And that was a bummer, because that's what I was like, hey, if I don't play professional football, it's going to be baseball. If it's not baseball, maybe it'll be hockey or basketball. So we couldn't do that. So I remember going home and asking my parents, and my dad said, how about the military? I was like, yeah, that's a good point. I'll do the military. And I chose the Marines because they honestly just had the best commercials. being the few, the proud, the Marines, putting on those dress blues. So I did this report. I don't know if I'd recommend this or not, but my dad took me to the recruiting station in the 8th grade just to get some more information. They hounded me for the next 4 years. But yeah, when I was doing this report, like it kind of changed the way I was living my life. It's like, yeah, this is it. this is what I want to do when I grow up. I want to serve our country. I want to be a Marine, and I'm going to start like living my life that way. I looked at our military veterans in a different way. It's like, these are the men and women that I want to emulate. And that was it. 8th grade, I'm going to be a Marine. That's the decision. And my grandpap, he passed away my freshman year in college. We found out that in Korea he had 3 Bronze Stars. Like, didn't know it. He didn't talk about it. But when he knew I wanted to be a Marine, he guided me to the United States Naval Academy. He said, why don't you check this out? You can continue to play sports, you get a good degree, and you can graduate and be a Marine officer. So that was the route that we went.
Wow, I didn't know that. So you went Naval Academy first, transitioned from the Naval Academy to becoming a Marine as an officer, correct?
Yes, yep.
Yeah. Being an Army veteran, I was waiting for some kind of like shots of fire, and I chose the Marines because they're better than the Army. I was waiting for it, Eric, and I'm here for it. Yeah. But they did have very cool commercials. I'm not gonna lie, they did, and that's great advice for anybody that has maybe some 8th graders thinking about the military. Do not take them to the recruiting station in 8th grade, right? Like,
man,
dude, I remember that. Go ahead. You were gonna say.
No, I was gonna say. I mean, there were times in high school where I'm like taking a math test, and over the loudspeaker, it's like, Eric McElvenney, report to the office. Yeah. It's like, oh man, the gunny is there to like come talk to me. And sometimes it was like, oh, okay, great, but it was relentless. But I appreciated it. And
sure.
my best friend, I like grabbed him and pulled him in. And although I ended up not enlisting, I went to the Naval Academy. He ended up enlisting in the Marine Corps and serving, 4 good years time in Iraq. And it, changed his life for the better. So the recruiter did get one of us.
There you go. Well, yeah, the recruiter got me. I think I stopped into 3 different recruiting places, and from the day I met Staff Sergeant Little, I think he contacted me literally every day, and that was before texting and cell phones. Like, the guy would show up at my house. He would come to school. He would call it was relentless. And I didn't know what I was getting into. I just knew I was getting out of here, right? So, man, thank you again for sharing that story. And so you did play sports in the Naval Academy?
I did. I played a year of baseball and then 3 years of rugby.
Wow. There we go. They probably didn't have rugby at your high school. Is that a safe assumption?
No one really knew rugby. One of my good buddies lived in England for a little bit, so he was good at rugby. And the rest of us were either high school football players or high school soccer players and converted to rugby. Because it's kind of a mix of both. You're doing a lot of tackling, a lot of kicking. Ton of fun. I got to travel the world. Went to South Africa to play some games. Went and played in England. They kicked our butts because
they play rugby in high school. You know what I'm saying?
They do. It's a fun sport though. It's a fun sport.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. I've played not that seriously, but I have just ran down the field and got my head knocked off a few times playing rugby. So
of course.
I'm a little familiar. There was a defining moment in your military career, of course. December 9th of 2011. That day kind of changed your military career and certainly who you are today. Can you tell us, maybe tell the listener, what was the scenario, what was happening in that moment, and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, of course. I do I remember it vividly, the moment.
Sure.
But we were in an outpost in Afghanistan, Helmand Province, a new area. We just had a patrol, very early morning patrol, left when it was dark. We were out there for about 5 hours, and towards the end of the patrol, all we had to do was cross a wadi, like a dried up riverbed, and get back to where we were. And that's when it happened. I stepped on an IED, and I triggered an explosion underneath my right foot. And So like I remember it, but I had a concussion from the blast or from hitting my head on the ground because I was just thrown to my back. But it was just a violent force threw me down, hit my head, back. Life was in slow motion, loud ringing noise, and didn't know what had happened at first. I didn't, because of concussion, like I didn't even know where I was. It was just, man, the sensation of like being underwater almost. And slowly things are coming back to me. I realize, okay, wait, I'm in Afghanistan. I'm on my back. I'm looking into the sky, and now it's like, it was a beautiful blue sky, not a cloud in it. Now it's full of smoke and dust, and it hit me. It's like, wow, I just stepped on an IED, and I knew it, and I knew I was bleeding up pretty high on my left leg. So I lost my right leg below the knee. Like, didn't know that yet. Like, I didn't look, but for a moment, just being in country for a couple months, knowing what could happen, I thought there was a moment that I thought that this might be it for me. And initially, that my mind went to Jesus. I thought I get to meet my Creator. It wasn't like scary. It's like I don't know if I accepted this or if I was ready for this, but I'm like focused on that. Like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna go to heaven. And then I pictured like a photograph. I pictured my wife and my daughter's face, and it was like a photograph. And I'm just thinking about them, and I was just so scared. Like I wasn't ready to leave this world yet. There were things that I wanted to do, and as I'm thinking about them, this slow motion kicked back in. My corpsman came running up to me, Mike Schrum. He just turned 21 years old, came running up to me, and it was the first time that I had seen him like, oh no, because I've seen him treat some guys before, and it was like, but this one was me, and like we were close. We were a small team of 4 guys, so we were pretty close. When I saw his eyes get big, I was like, uh-oh, this isn't good. And then he just went into action. He started saving my life. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to live through this. It's just going to be a little bit painful. But that was the moment, and that's a moment I can go back to a lot now. At first, like I couldn't, like I didn't want to think about it, but now, like, wow, I can like just picture it in like high definition. And then the Marines, Mike went into action saving my life, and the Marines in the area just came, and our mission changed to saving my life. And I was just that day in the midst of heroes, and I'm grateful. And looking back, like it was a hard day, it was a hard time, it was a hard moment, but I'm grateful for the blessings that were in it. There was already a helicopter in the air. The Marines were just into action immediately. They saved my life before the Taliban showed up, and it's just like the casualty evacuation drill that we practiced over and over and over again in training. I never expected to be the casualty, but the Marines carried it out like almost flawlessly, and that's why I'm here today.
Man, I don't even know how you draw parallels with being a good leader with this, because none of us, hopefully, are ever going to have to face that kind of a challenge. And I got to tell you, Eric, like, I'm so grateful for who you are today and for sharing your story, because that's real trauma. Not hitting your quarterly business goal, having high turnover, that's not real trauma. That's not real trauma. It sucks, but it's not real trauma. And the fact that you can share your story in such a heartfelt way, I know it's going to challenge some people to find some real perspective in their own journey. And you're literally fighting for your life. It's going, and you're trying to get your senses back. You're being evacuated. What was some of the, like, when you started to put together the framework in your mind of like what is happening, and maybe I'm over this hump of I'm not going to die, but it's going to be different. What were some of the lessons that you started to learn from this experience? Because look, the outcome, who you are today, it's a miracle. Not only have you overcome it, and I'm not saying fully, but you're taking this experience to serve others. What are some of those lessons, or the leaders that are listening, what are some things that you went through that maybe they could apply to some of their own challenges?
Yeah, of course. And I mean, I still use it today. That whatever, like, change is hard. Like, my life changed that day, and it's hard no matter how you look at it. Big change, small change, like, it's challenging. But who you are in that moment, and who you are in that change, in that challenge, you're going to impact the people around you. You're going to impact, you're going to impact employees. You're going to impact customers. You're going to impact your circle. You don't get to make that choice. Like, you're going to impact someone somehow. The choice that you make, though, is whether you're going to impact in a positive way or a negative way. And you make that choice every morning. When you wake up, you're looking in the mirror and you're brushing your teeth. It's like, okay, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to impact in a positive way. And I mean, I have, when it comes to, like, resilience, I think resilience, character is important. Character. And one principle of, one characteristic of your character is your resilience and your grit, and how you respond to situations. And that's something that I value. Like, what you value ends up being what you're good at, right? Like, I value integrity. So, like, I'm a pretty honest guy, that's important to me. That's one of my values. I value work ethic. I'm good at it because it's like, that's in my identity. I value resilience, and it's something that I don't know if I was born with it. I do know that people in my life, I've been blessed, absolutely blessed with people throughout my life. Just a loving, caring parents, family, coaches, teachers, in the Marine Corps, leaders. I've been blessed throughout my life where I've learned principles of resilience that now I use in my life, but I get to share in other people's lives. And there's a lot of different principles, and they're in no real order except the first one. And the first one is gratitude. And that was huge in my life. And it was my daughter that opened my eyes to it, and in this situation, my daughter, her name is Lupe. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. She was the only one that was there when I was injured, so she was 5 years old. And in this crazy situation, like, her response wasn't the same as us adults. It was like, this was a bad thing. This is a very negative thing. I'm in pain. My life changed. And she was the one that looked at it and said, Daddy's going to be home for Christmas.
Wow.
Something so small that it's like, oh, wow. And, it's like a kid's way of thinking. But that was gratitude. That was her being grateful for what she had. And in that moment, that's when I realized, like, wow, you're right. I'm still alive. Like, hey, I may look a little bit different. I may need some help. Might need a prosthetic leg, but I'm alive. I get to be with my family, and that's when I started to look at the blessings in my life. So in challenge, there are silver linings, and when you can say, okay, this is a tough situation, but really, like, is it that bad? It's like, I still have this. I still have my family. I still have my left leg. I still, I've been on this awesome journey. I'm grateful for the thing. So I would say gratitude is the first thing that I go to.
Man, and I heard it even at the onset of your response of, look, I'm grateful that I had a great team. I'm grateful that there were Marines in the area to get me out of there before the Taliban came. I'm glad that there was already a helicopter in the air. And then here comes your daughter. I'm glad that Dad's going to be home for Christmas. This is like, if you're playing a violin and 3 strings break, well, are you going to focus on the 3 broken strings or the one that's left? You still got one to play. Are you going to play it? And we're talking about your story of extreme adversity. And I know that, from what I've learned about even your time, rehabilitating and recovering from this injury, you decided, even before maybe you were fitted for a prosthetic, that you were going to do this Ironman triathlon, which, if you're listening and you don't know what an Ironman triathlon is, it's 140.6 miles combined swim, bike, and run. Some of us would be hard pressed to do a 5K walk, but you did it. You not only set this goal, but you completed it with a prosthetic leg. What made you set such an audacious goal instead of just saying, you know what, let me lock into recovery, let me get my new leg right, let me figure out how to walk first? What was going through your mind, and like, how did this pop in?
Yeah, it's that's a great question. Really, it was just the life that I was living and the examples before me. On the Marine Corps side of things, there was another guy about a year prior who got injured, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to run a marathon. So like that sticks in your head. You're like, oh wow, that's crazy, that's cool. My mom, actually, she went through a year of health issues in her intestines. It just tough. She was bedridden, and her response, and she's not an athlete either, her response was, I'm going to run a marathon. And it wasn't expected. She wasn't a runner. She wasn't anything. I was like, wow. So that kind of stuff is in my head, and I lose my leg, and I get a email from my commanding officer after my last surgery. It was 2 weeks after my injury, and so he's still in Afghanistan, just an absolute leader, Ike Moore, and I actually volunteered to go on this deployment to Afghanistan because it was under him. He asked me to come back to the unit to deploy with him. But he reached out in the email, and the email said, Eric, let me know when you're going to run your first marathon. It's like, oh, wow. It's like, it's not something that I thought about yet. Like, I'm just trying to get out of pain for the next 5 minutes. But now, like, he's challenging me at running a marathon. And I was like, I think I could do a marathon. The Ironman jumped out into my head because it's like, I don't know if I can finish an Ironman. That sounds crazy. Like, I don't really ride a bike. I don't swim. But I could run the marathon part of it, I think. So that's it. That's my goal. I'm going to use this as rehabilitation. And Jeff, like, I'll tell you, when I set that goal, and it's like, okay, this is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 2, 5, 10, 20 years. Maybe I'm going to be 70 and crawling across this finish line. Like, I didn't know if it was a short-term or long-term goal, but like, it like inspired me. It gave me the chills. Like, thinking about it, like, I get like goosebumps, the hair on my arms raise, and like, it feels good. And even like now, thinking about setting that goal, like, I still like, I smile, I get inspired, because when you have a goal, no matter how big or small, that actually inspires you, it's reason to get out and with a passion pursue it. So I now have this goal to finish an Ironman very early on in my injury, and it ended up being my rehab. If I could do an Ironman, like, I'm not gonna have a problem walking again, right?
Yeah, right on.
So
yeah, no doubt.
That was it. It was big.
Man, that is massive. And I love the fact that you're like, marathon, I could probably do that. You know what? I don't know if I could do an Ironman, so that has to be the goal. I love the stretch goal, because it's like, look, if you fail doing an Ironman, you're probably going to run a marathon. Accidentally run a marathon trying to do an Ironman, right?
Yeah.
Man, I love that's amazing. And the fact that you did it in that moment, the fact that you had a leader that was already challenging you, and now you're literally doing that for a living, is challenging other people to do that through the story, because you lived it out. And between your mom, between the other Marine, between the leader that you had, you were around this circle of influence that was like, yeah, this adversity, it's not going to be an anchor, it's going to be a propeller. Not what I hoped for, but you know what? We're going to run an Ironman, because I know if I can run an Ironman, I'm going to be able to walk just fine. But look, I'm sure there was some challenges along the way. I think everybody especially the leaders that are listening, everybody listening that's ever going to listen to this show. We all hit some moments of doubt and setbacks in the journey to the goal, or trying to do the goal. What were some of your, if you don't mind sharing, what were some of your lowest points on this journey, and how did you lead yourself through them? Whether that was grief of losing a leg, or training, trying to figure out how to wear a blade prosthetic, and like, is there anything that stands out to you that you were like, these were moments of real doubt or frustration that I had?
Yeah, of course. It was, you set a goal, you plan a path, and my path to that first Ironman didn't look anything like the plan. But we had that end state, the Ironman. So as we're moving along, you can make some rudder steers and whatnot. But what I remember, when you bring that up, what I remember is I set this goal to run an Ironman, and I pictured the challenge being the hours of training, getting out there, waking up before the sun, being on the bike to for 5-6 hour rides, carving, like that was the challenge in my head. What it ended up being was my limb and the prosthetic and blisters and staph infections. The 3 months prior to that, my first Ironman, I had 3 different staph infections in my limb. Gosh. Because I was stubborn. I get a little blister and it's like, all right, I'll keep going, I'm good. And it turned into a big blister, and then, bacteria would be there. And there was a point that my doctor asked, like, hey, can you just try like a different sport? I'm like, nah, not right now. Just give me some, give me some antibiotics, and like I'll keep going. But it was hard. And there was a point that I was into my prosthetic practitioner, the guy that makes my legs. His name is Peter Harsh, and he was also, and honestly, this one has God's fingerprints all over it. He's a 14-time Ironman finisher, 5-time Ironman world champion. And so I set this goal to run an Ironman, and then I meet him, and I realized, like, wow, I didn't know anyone that ran an Ironman, and now this guy who's done it is now going to be making one of my body parts and going to turn into one of my best friends. That was pretty cool. But there was a point that I was in his office. I think I threw my run leg at him. I was on crutches. I couldn't walk because I had huge blister, staph infection. And I said to him, I don't think this is for people like me. Like, I can't do the training that I'm supposed to do. I was frustrated. All I could do was swim because I couldn't put a prosthetic on. And like, I'm just like 2 months later, I'm supposed to do one of the hardest races in the world. And like he was holding my leg. He was standing there. Like, he put his head down for a moment, and then he said, Eric, if this were easy, everyone would be doing it. And I was like, oh, interesting. That's right. Like, I didn't choose this goal because I thought it was going to be easy. I knew it was going to be challenging. I thought it was going to be challenging in a different way. And then this pops up with the fit of the prosthetic. And he's like, all right, let's recast you. Let's make a new leg. Let's get this going. And I was like, it rejuvenated me. Like, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Like, I'm ready to take on this side of the challenge. Even though I didn't expect that part of the challenge. I didn't know what like having a prosthetic was like. But it was like, okay, this is part of it. Now I have to learn how to take care of my limb. I have to know what the fit is like. I need if I have a blister, to take care of it. And then I was all in. And I'll never forget that. Like, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. And I think that's something, I don't know, something to live by.
Oh my gosh, yes. Unbelievable. I'm sitting here thinking I'm thinking of like a triathlon. It would be one thing if it was just a marathon. Like, that, by the way, that would be epic. But I'm assuming the limb that you use to run is different than the bike, is different than the swim. And so there's that whole factor into that whole thing as well. And any swelling or whatever that might happen with that. Like, one thing after the next, I'm trying to put myself in this environment with 2 perfectly good functioning legs myself. There's just no, unbelievable. And that's why you're an amazing speaker and an amazing inspiration, because this truly gives hope to a lot of people that are maybe overdoing it with excuses. And, you know, there's things that I've heard you talk about. You know, I've heard you talk about self-control and preparation, you know, being key to success. You know, talk a little bit about that and tell us, how does that translate into leadership or business, or leading yourself?
Yeah. Self-control and that preparation, that's it. It's so I've done 9 Ironman races now.
Wow.
Probably 50 half Ironmans. Like, just I've towed the line of a lot of start lines, and it's that given day isn't the test. Like, when you're running an Ironman, like, you're enjoying it because you already did the work. Like, I remember treading water at the Ironman World Championships, my first Ironman, and I was like, I just felt at ease. It's like, there's nothing that I'm going to do today that I haven't already done. Like, now it's just get out and do it, because 6 months prior, I was waking up well before the sun to go to get my ride in, to get my bike in, to do some swimming, to go to the gym. What am I eating? Like, I was prepared. So it's the training, the preparation that really mattered. And then as you get closer to the race, just doing the little things to make sure when you wake up on race day, like, you don't really have to think. Like, your body is ready and your mind is ready, and now it's just time to go through the motions, because that preparation was already done. And I visualize really well. Like, when I finish, when I come across a finish line, or when I'm in the last couple miles of a race, I've been there 300 times already, because in training, I put myself there. And I think that's one thing that I do well, is like, when I'm out running by myself, it would be pretty easy to just like, okay, my lungs hurt, my legs hurt, I feel like jello, I'm going to slow down a little bit. But then I mentally go to that last 3 miles of that race, and it's like, I put myself there, and I finished that run hard, because I don't know, I think visualization is an important skill, a good skill to have.
No doubt about it. You know, we had a former SEAL commander on, and he talked about visualizing horizons, and, you know, finding these micro things that you can find to get through it. And he talked about training in the surf, you know, all these different things. There's some truth to that. You know, that brings about a question, maybe, as you were talking about this. You know, everybody has the dream of crossing the finish line, and I'm using that as an analogy. It could be making a certain amount of money, getting your health where it needs to be. You know, if we asked every listener right now, do you have a goal? Yeah, I got a goal. Do you have a hope? Do you have a wish? Do you have a dream? Yes, I do. My question is, maybe you can offer some insight. How do leaders, how do people stay accountable to their goals when nobody's watching or they don't feel like it?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. Like, the goal has to matter, and you have to know why you're doing it. So for me, and I say, like, there was a low point in that first Ironman where I was on the side of the road with 8 miles left. My leg was off, my limb was swollen, I couldn't even get it back on. I'm out of energy, like, things aren't going my way, and I wanted to quit. Right? And everyone experiences that feeling of wanting to quit, and then the voices in your head start to talk to you a little bit, and those voices sometimes get pretty loud. It's like, you're right, why am I here? And that was it. Why was I there? And like, I understand it's just a race, it's just an event, but for me it was bigger than that. It was personal. This was me proving to myself. This was me proving to myself something, that, like, I'm still the same person that I used to be, and I can do this. And I just went back to the why. And I mean, understanding your purpose is so important. And I always use an example, like, when I became a Marine, like, I'll never forget the day that I, like, rose my right hand and swore to defend the Constitution, and, like, I was proud. I was now serving a purpose larger than myself, defending our country. Like, it was big. And then you go through training. It's like, okay, go through training, check into your first unit, and then you're doing things that you didn't expect to do, putting fires out here. You're missing holidays with your family. You're going on these deployments. Like, it's hard, and it's really easy to forget that purpose when you're in it. And I've just always loved the Marine Corps does such a good job of celebrating the birthday.
They do.
So it's November 11th. Marines come together, put on their dress uniforms, have a cake. Oldest Marine, youngest Marine get to share it together. Probably have a couple adult beverages, but then you reflect on who the Marines are, what they represent, the men and women that came before you, and like you're reignited because you remember that purpose, and you get back out there and you just you crush it. So in everything that you do, like there's purpose. Like when I go and give a speech. One purpose is I'm providing for my family. That's my work. So like I think of my family. It's like, okay, even though I got to go and spend some time away from them, it's because like, I want them to, be able to take, have piano lessons and play these sports and put food on the table. But also like purpose is, there's something that I might say that might impact someone else's journey. Like that's purpose. But in everything you do, just understanding like why you're doing it and that purpose is just absolutely key. That's what drives me.
No question about it. Man, you talking about that makes me want to put the uniform back on and ride, man. Because it's so true. There's a level of camaraderie and purpose, which is why a lot of service people have a lot of challenge with transition, because then the purpose seems to be just gone. Like you got to redefine purpose. But this accountability piece, and I'm thinking of you, I'm visualizing you on the side of the road. I'm going to make an assumption you took your leg off because there was some agitation, pain, or you wanted your leg to breathe a little bit. Now it's swollen. You can't even get the leg back on. There's however many miles to go. If there was anybody in the world that had a great excuse that everybody could have lived with, by the way, it would have been you. Well, hey, you know what? It was a good run. I finished, all of this. You know what? I'm missing a leg, and that's why I'm not finishing. Nobody would have been bent out of shape. They would have congratulated you and said, wow, what an effort, Eric. What an effort. And you could have looked back and celebrated how far you had come. But that wasn't good enough for you because of the purpose that was driving it. That tells me, like, the goal is not to be better than you were. The goal is to chase your potential. And there's a beautiful story in you finishing that first Ironman when you're sitting on the side of the road, literally contemplating, am I going to keep going, right? It's now or never. This thing's swelling. So thanks for sharing the vividness of this journey. You certainly have crossed a lot of finish lines, literal and figuratively. For that person that's listening today, how can they identify their next finish line and commit to crossing it, even when the journey looks impossible? Because I feel like people start well. January 1st, we're all going to be rock stars. And then there's, the third Thursday of January, by the way, is National Quitters Day. And it's because by that time, everybody has quit and given up. How do they identify this next finish line? And how do they commit to crossing it? Is it the purpose thing? Is it, what do you thoughts?
It definitely is purpose. It's like why did you set that goal? And to be reminded of that. But when I actually set a goal, like right now, I'm trying to figure out what's next for me. And so I'm kind of floating a little bit, still training and stuff, but I'm floating a little bit because I haven't committed. So when you set a goal, that's a commitment. That's a promise. It's a promise to yourself. I say two things that you can do that help me is first write it down and put it on your desk, and so you can read it every single day. So I am going to qualify for the Paralympics in 2024 or 2028, whatever the case is. So you see it every single day, and it's like, oh yeah, good reminder. Thank you. But write it down and have it somewhere that you can see it, and then you got to tell people. Yes. If you just have a goal and you haven't told anyone, then it's pretty easy to be like, you know what, I don't feel like getting up and going swimming today. But when I reach out and I'm like, hey, I'm going to go and accomplish this race. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to try to win it. then I have people in my swim group that, hey, you haven't been to swim in the past 2 weeks. I get a text message from a coach, you know, it's like, what's been going on? It's like, oh, I've been traveling, I swear, you know. But that's what you need. Or even, man, I remember that first Ironman. Leading up to it, my swim group, I was swimming in San Diego with a master's group, and my alarm would go off early, like 4:30 a.m., and sometimes I'd be like, I just hit snooze, and my wife would just kind of roll over and take the sheets out off of me, and she's like, hey, you're the one that set the goal. If you want to accomplish it, you better get out and go do your training. So having people accountable for, holding you accountable is very helpful. I've a lot of the times mixed in the past, like 14, 15 years of doing triathlon. Sometimes I have a coach, sometimes I don't. But having a coach, having a mentor, having a training buddy is extremely helpful. And when you're tackling a goal by yourself, it's going to be hard. It's going to be easy to have more cheat days than you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. So to have someone holding me accountable, it was extremely helpful. Because I'm a pretty disciplined guy, but
clearly.
I can also come up with excuses not to do something pretty easily. So I've always just had a great support network that cares enough about me to challenge me. And that's when I think about my commanding officer sending that email. At first, you're like, "Oh man, that's kind of mean. Like I lost my leg." But I realized, like, wow, what a leader. He cared enough about me to challenge me, because he knew I needed that. I needed to be challenged to do something big, to stop worrying about what I cannot do, focus on what I can, and start pursuing it. So as a leader, like, man, just challenge the people around you. Maybe they don't seem like they want it, but they want it, and they need it.
They absolutely, we all need it, no doubt about it. And accountability can come in all shapes and sizes. Matter of fact, I'd love for you to recall the story of the day that your daughter held you accountable in the at the grocery store. Do you mind sharing that story?
Oh yeah, no, that's great. So yeah, when I was injured, they gave me a handicap placard, which made sense at the hospital. So I'm pretty. I'm fresh off the battlefield. I was an aggressive Marine leader, and I was like, I'm not handicapped. I threw it away. And then I got another one in the mail. It was like 6 months later, and I don't know if the other one expired or something. I'm not sure, but I was like, let me put this in my glove box for a rainy day. And we were living in San Diego. It doesn't rain there, so I started using it on sunny days. I go into work, and it's like, man, that's a long walk. I think I'm going to be handicapped today. So I started leaning into this. Yeah, I go to the front, park handicap. I wear shorts a lot just so people don't question it. If I was in jeans or something, I would limp. I got a leg thing. That's why I'm parking here. Because I was like,
I'm legit. I am legit.
30, yeah. Like 30 years old. I don't look handicapped, and my prosthetist is so good. I didn't have a limp. I had a very good gait. We worked on that. But I go to the grocery store. It was around Christmas time. It was a little bit before Christmas. My wife sent me on an errand to get some stuff that she was going to cook. And so my daughter is 6 years old at that time, Lupe. We go to the store. No parking anywhere. I'm not dealing with this today. Zip to the front, pull into my handicap spot, grab my placard, hang it up, and I'm like, Lupe, let's go. We get out of the truck, and she just
limping.
Immediately, she's like, Dad, what was that magic blue ticket? And I was like, because I only have one leg, I'm allowed to park right there when I use that magic ticket. That's for people like me. And without missing a beat, she says, Dad, you have 5 legs. You have your running leg, your walking leg, your biking leg, your water leg, and your left leg. And I thought it was funny. I'm like, let's go, you little brat. And we're walking to the store, and I'm like, holy cow. I felt guilty. I didn't want to set that example for my daughter. I realized that I'm using my leg as an excuse when it's convenient for me. Mm-hmm. And it came up in parking because, I was using it as an excuse for parking. Nothing against it. I did. I was on a prosthetic, but like a much more active than a lot of people. Like I had just run 6 miles. I didn't need to use that spot. I used it because it was convenient for me. And I realized, you know, it wasn't just with that. It was with other things in my life. It was at Disneyland. You know, I'd go right to the front of the line. Everyone took me to Disney. It was with training. You know, if I'd go on a run with some buddies, and if it was too fast, I'd be like, hey, you guys keep going. Like, we got the leg thing going on, you know. I was using my leg as an excuse in a lot of parts of my life. And that day, like, I made a promise to myself that I'm not going to use my leg as an excuse ever again. And it was such a freeing moment because everybody, maybe not everybody, but you have that go-to excuse, right?
Yes.
And when you free yourself of it, like, you get closer to actually reaching that potential. Like, we're operating here, could be up here, but, you know, we use an excuse to get out of something that maybe is a little bit challenging or a little bit uncomfortable, because it's natural. That's what being a human is. But I've focused on not using my leg as an excuse, and it elevated my performance in life and as an athlete.
Man, it's so good, and I hope somebody hears this that has been playing victim, you know, and victim comes in all shapes and sizes, because I've been there myself. Well, you know what? I kind of grew up in poverty, so maybe this is as good as it gets. Well, hey, nobody else was ever educated, so this is as good as it gets. Well, you know what? Everybody in my family is an alcoholic, so you know what? I guess I'm going to be too. Or those people in your life that are like, hey, listen, don't be so hard on yourself. I mean, you did grow up with a unfair hand. You're missing a leg. When people tell you this kind of thing, you're allowing them to make you a victim, right? And so I love that you're sharing this, because I hope it reaches somebody that says, just because I can use it as a victim mentality doesn't mean that I'm going to do it. I'm done doing this. I'm not going to use it in any way, shape, or form. And your story, Eric, is amazing, and thank you for sharing it. You know, your journey is such a powerful reminder that life, leadership, it's not about avoiding adversity. It's about transforming it and working through adversity. Because if there's one thing we all are going to have as we run this race of life, it's challenges, and how we overcome them, I think, is the biggest differentiator there is. So, man, you know, as we celebrate Veterans Day coming up, I want to thank you, brother. I appreciate your service. I appreciate your example, the way you continue to lead through action and how you live your life. Man, how can listeners connect with you, follow your journey? There's certainly going to be people listening that want to have you in to their company to deliver your keynote. How do people find you?
Yeah, that's great. Just my name, Eric McElvenney. So ericmcelvenney.com, that's my website. And then on social, it's just Eric McElvenney. Yeah, and I just, I really love getting in front of an audience and speaking and sharing my life, meeting people, and, you know, it's been such a rewarding experience. Never thought in my life that it's something that I would ever do, but it's something that I love to do. You know, it's something that I could say, some type of principle of resilience that sticks with someone. That's what really matters to me. And hey, thank you for your service as well. Yeah,
man, no question about it. And I'm going to tell you, like, Eric delivers. I'm not just saying it because he's on the show. He's my sub. I've subbed in for him. You know, he's the guy that I want if I can't make it or I can't get there. He's the guy that I'm sending. Not because he's a veteran, because he's good at what he does, man. And you got to check this guy out, man. Appreciate you so much. Listen, as we celebrate Veterans Day here in the United States, I want to take a moment and on behalf of Eric and myself, we want to show our most gratitude and appreciation for everyone that has put on the uniform. We're truly grateful for your sacrifices. We're grateful for your service. And hey, if you're listening today, you're facing a challenge. I hope Eric's message today challenged you to stop asking maybe why me and start asking what now. Remember, great leaders, they don't just rise to the occasion, they prepare for it. Eric talked to us about preparing for the moment, preparing for the race. So whatever your next finish line looks like, go after it with everything that you have inside of you. Until next time, keep running your race and keep turning that pressure into potential.
The Champion Forum Podcast with Jeff Hancher. Lead, inspire, win.